as of time of recording, Manchester City have not even played their Champions League tie yet. They play Napoli at home on Thursday and then play Arsenal away on Sunday, which I'm sure Pep won't mention. We won't hear anything about that. But this is a bit of a fortuitous scheduling scenario for us in this game, I would say. We don't have any update on Saka or Saliba, but Saliba was on the bench in Spain, so I would imagine he's fit to come in. So I'll start with you, Clive. City have not looked convincing in their duels in midfield and in their defensive organization, but the attack does have the best XG in the Premier League, and Haaland is in a little bit of frightening form. How are you sending us out for this game?
Let's see who's fit, right? I would play Saliba. We're talking about somebody who is the best defender in the world, so let's not pretend. Even looking at the squad photo, there's Saliba. He's like the biggest, strongest. Is that okay? Why would you leave him on the bench? I
still think Gabby would win that fight, but okay.
Why would you leave him on the bench for any longer than you actually need to? You see what I mean? This is, again, back to the levels. This is Erling Haaland, the best centre forward in the world. What do Man City want? Right? So very simple, right? So if Saliba's fit, he plays. And as for the fullbacks, I think it'd be a similar back four. We have a game in midweek afterwards where we can rest people. So I think Jurrien Timber looks like an 80-minute player to me at the moment, but those 80 minutes are brilliant. The last 10 he guts out, right? So we've got a player that can take that burden off him, but he's not around at the moment. So, but I do think Mosquera may end up ending the game as a fullback if we are fatiguing in that area. And we've got left-siders to die for. I thought Hincapi looks quite sharp, doesn't he? He looks like it could be a problem for the referee's notebook. Shall we say?
Yeah.
So there's what's the space there. And the midfield, I think Odegaard returns. I do. I think we go back to what our normal midfield will be, with Mendy and Rice. And the front three, I'm not sure where Saka is at the time of recording. I'm not sure where he is. I think he's due back this week. The difference I find with him versus, say, a Saliba is it's a sprinting position, a high intensity position. So you might want to be a bit more cautious with that one, because he's had a couple of hamstrings now, though it's a different one. But if he turns up in the training videos anytime now, we'll all be picking him, right? Because he's quality, right? So, but again, they can share the game, so it's not a drama. I don't know if you're going to talk about Eze, but I thought I looked at Eze game versus the Forest game. I think he had 43 touches versus Forest. He had 40 touches versus Bilbao. Different game, different context. You reminded me quite astutely of how many duels he won. We didn't buy Eze to win duels. And there's people wondering where he's standing. I think there are opportunities to develop him by how we pass to him. Do you remember the old Ben White to Saka pass, inverted inside and Saka rolls inside, and that pass we used to do, so Saka wouldn't receive it standing still on the touchline, getting booted up his arse? We need to do similar things for Eze to allow him to flow inside and be more impactful, because when he flows inside, he looks like a different player completely. He sees the pitch, he's got a range of pass, he can combine short 1-2s and get it back again. When he gets it back in the crowd scene, he's got soft feet and he can progress from there. But we've got to give him the ball so in a way that he can get momentum, rather than giving it to him standing still. So what he'll do, manipulate it, protect it, and drop it back. That's not what we really want to see all the time. I understand control, but can we get that angle pass into him from Calafiori, off the touchline, into him, so he can travel in? And so these things we need to learn and get him going again. Don't listen to the narratives around him being a left winger. If you look at the heat maps for both games, which I did, there's not much difference between the Forest game and the Bilbao game. So it's about us giving more opportunities to travel through the thirds, really is. And so I would go with that. I'd go with the similar front three we've had, but maybe Saka off the bench if he's fit. And then we've got ability to speed up off the bench, haven't we? So I'll go that way.
It's tough. There's a part of me that just says, if Saka's fit, start him.
Yeah.
He's Bukayo Saka. But we've seen Bukayo Saka when he's not fully powered up, and like a lot of amazing players, similar to Declan Rice, you just don't see the same Bukayo Saka. But if you said to me, we're going to have 1/2 chance to create a goal or score a goal, I still back him to be the one that does it. I mean, you've always called this out, Clive. He's the guy that does the first big thing that gets us the goal to send us on our way.
But this I just want to say, as we're recording, we just have not even seen a picture of him for a few days. Do you see what I mean? We don't know where he is. And that
that's
that
by
could
design,
change
I'm sure.
literally. Yeah, that could change in like an hour or two. You know what I mean? And we'll see a picture and we'll all be picking him, right? Because he's the best player in our team, right? So simple.
Can we focus on one area in particular, Paul, just quickly, and then I want to talk a little bit about conservative approach versus aggressive approach. The position I want to ask you about is left back.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Miles Lewis-Skelly derby, right? The stay humble derby. Miles Lewis-Skelly not getting a lot of minutes at the moment. Nkapie is now here. Calafiori has become the starter, but Calafiori, a player, he did take a pretty brutal kick on his Achilles, by the way, against Athletic Club. Not necessarily renowned for his defensive work, although I think it's been much better this season and not a huge source of an issue. But what do you think about left back and, you know, where Miles is at the moment, if there's a chance he might come in for this game with everything in the background of this rivalry? How do you think about that position?
It's an interesting one just looking at the left side because Eze and Calafiori are not what I would line up as the most robust defensive unit when we're pushed back in that side, and I do think that's an area Man City are going to target. So the coach...
But we should mention where they can be targeted too. United had big joy down both wide spaces, both touch lines. I think City's defensive edges are very fragile.
Yes. So on the other hand, there's just a big choice to make here, and I think you got to look at pairs of players. And yeah, look, Lewis-Skelly seems to be a step down at the moment, and Calafiori, you know, one point I wanted to make on this conservative lineup we had, air quotes on conservative, and the same as with Liverpool, is I don't think the manager ever thinks it's that conservative a lineup if he's got Calafiori in the team with license to roam into midfield. In neither game was it the deciding factor by any means, but obviously that's his free man roaming into midfield, which shakes things up, and you've got a lot of movement with Marino, Rice, and Zubimendi all kind of rotating with each other to some degree, at least in pairs. There's a lot of fluidity there, and I think that's the manager does not see that as a conservative pick anytime it's those three guys plus Calafiori. The Miles Lewis-Skelly one feels it's one of those you need a few more data points, but it definitely feels like he's kind of put him a level down, that if when Calafiori is fit at the moment, it's Calafiori. And we do have to remember, if we're true to our concept of finishers, that this in particular, this Man City game is going to be a big game for who starts, who comes on at 70 minutes. And on the left-hand side, look, the manager could pick Martinelli after the goal and use that as the excuse and lean on his defensive nous to start. Or to your point, it's at home. We need to go at them. We need to take the initiative. We start with Eze. Martinelli comes on at 70 minutes. Calafiori could be in all sorts of trouble with yellow cards at that stage of the game, if that's the area they're targeting, and Miles Lewis-Skelly comes on there. And, the one thing you would say about Miles Lewis-Skelly is he might have a career for this next season of being the guy that comes on at 65, 70 minutes and plays really important minutes. And, of course, has a number of starts. But it definitely feels like he's down the pecking order. And I'm sure that'll be difficult for him because last year was a meteoric rise where he was never out of the team once he was in it, and he played great. But Arteta, for all the conservative labels, likes Calafiori because the guy might do anything at any moment as a midfielder, as an attacker, as a winger, as a striker, and he wants him on the pitch. And I think he wants his toys. Against Man City, he wants to bring his toys, and one of his toys is Calafiori. At this stage, another of them is Eze. And if he can get Odegaard on the pitch, he'll go with a very attacking lineup. I think Saka is an absolute candidate for a substitute role, or rather a finisher role, coming on at 70 minutes.
Yeah, Clive, I, as you know, bristled against the claim of conservatism at Anfield for so many reasons. Firstly, we watched the game, and I don't think it was a conservative approach. Secondly, I think just what was available to select. Thirdly, I think the actual fixture itself and what it demanded. This is a slightly different one because City look very vulnerable, but City are themselves very potent. And Mikel Arteta has not, in his time at Arsenal, ever demonstrated that he wants to get into basketball games and just go punch for punch with teams. And certainly if you go punch for punch with Erling Haaland, you can wind up flat on your back. We've had some success against them controlling games, keeping it tight and trying to nick it, here and there. But people get frustrated with that approach. I think they'll be looking to see if Odegaard is back and can play, and if it's Ethan, or are we going to go Rice, Marino, and Zubi again? And people are going to be looking to see, that area of the pitch in particular, but also just whether we are aggressive in our attempts to take advantage of what's regarded as Manchester City's frailty. Now, the irony, of course, is I regard one of their biggest frailties as their midfield weakness and inability to win duels and control games. I think that they can get physically boshed out of games with Reiners, who's not particularly strong in that area, whoever they want to play in the other midfield other than Rodri. I think we can have a big advantage there. I'm torn on this one. How do you see it? How do you see our ability to not be seen as conservative, but to actually address the strengths and weaknesses of Manchester City?
Yeah, so the 2 home games that I've seen, we've looked really sharp and really progressive, and really our intent to play has been really, really positive. Like the Forest game was, I couldn't find anything wrong with it. Maybe left a goal on the table, that's it. Right, so I'm expecting us to play them. It's going to be interesting to see what he does, because he has a lot of respect for Pep and his ability to see our weaknesses, etc. But I think he feels more confident with the players that he has. I look at City's team and I go straight to fullbacks, Elliot. They got Kuzinov there, right? He is like, how can I say it? He's like Romero playing right back. He just chases after rabbits, goes bang, bang, bang. I think you need someone that understands how to manipulate the ball against him, got a bit of authority on it. I like the Eze matchup with him. You don't need a running race per se, because Kuznov is really, really quick. We need someone who's got a brain, because he hasn't got one, right? So they played Nathan. I think that young kid O'Reilly, Nathan O'Reilly, I think his name is. He's a tall player, plays number 10 for the youth teams. He's come into the first team as a left back. He's very, very leggy. Well, they play Aït-Nouri there. I'm not sure where he is at the moment. Both of them look nice, don't look robust. Don't look robust enough to handle us in our strongest area, right? So will they bring in Nathan Ake for this game? He came back late last game. He has a history of doing quite well at the Emirates when they won the league. When they went on to win the treble, actually, I think he came into their back four. They went to that back four, the centre-back four, and went from there and won the treble, right? So I think he may come in. They're going to want to be physical against us, right? So Guardiola, Nathan Ake, Diaz, Stones, which one? They're going to want to be physical with us. And I would, if I'm them. Don't rock up with Rico Lewis, mate, and Aït-Nouri. If you do that, you could be in a bit of trouble, because you don't dominate the ball like you used to. You don't dominate areas like you used to. This isn't five-a-side, this is football. We'll make the pitch big and we'll run all over them. So the midfield 3, Foden found himself in the 10. Are they going to do that experiment again? We'll watch tonight against Napoli and see. With Reinders and Rodri, and obviously they can all play. When you close your eyes, you can see everything they do. But apart from Rodri, when you close your eyes, what do they do running backwards? And that's the thing. Can we get them running backwards, right? So the big boy up front is on his game, right? It's clear to see he's on his game. His battery's charged. He's ready to go. So and he's going to bring his A game versus us, because we don't like him and we told him, and our centre backs are ready for him, and they know they are the ones that can handle him. But even in the game when we handled him last year, he scored a beautiful header in the box, So yeah, we're going to be on our game. But I'm hoping that we can show people. By the way, when we have got more of our players available, when we're at home, this is what we do, And I'm really hopeful for that. But in the end, it's not about appeasing the pundits. It's about winning the marathon. That's what we've got to do. And because we dropped them points at Liverpool, we need to make sure we get the points against Man City and Newcastle. That's where my eyes are. It's a pair of games. If we do well we're set in a stretch of games to do really well. So very important game, Elliot.
And 2 of the most opposite games you could possibly hope to face, because I think physically Manchester City will struggle to compete with us. I think with Newcastle, it's always about, can you win the physical contest, or at least stay competitive in the physical contest without Joelinton hurting someone. Paul, just super quick, your key to success and key to failure. What's the one thing you regard as the thing we kind of must do to come out on top, and the thing we mustn't do?
The thing you'll win a lot of games with a strong defense. So that's got to pan out. We got to have a level of a platform that allows us to attack at home with our crowd behind us. It'll be a great occasion, a great day. So the attacking is kind of a given. So with our defense, and that's why I just have a slight. My eye goes to the left-hand side and Calafiori. I think you're right that we're going to go Calafiori and Eze, but there will be the need for Gabriel to provide a little bit of additional cover there, and that does stretch us a little bit out of the back. But those are the choices you make. So that's got to hold up. I think actually, if I'm going to pick one thing, it's the bench. This will be a game won by the team that has the stronger starting lineup, but even more so, how does that last 20 minutes, 25 minutes play out? And I think our options could be great. I think it could well be Saka off the bench, Martinelli off the bench, and Marino playing a tactical role, if that's the nature of the game, to kind of get in there and battle for the last 10, 15. So I think in the end it'll come down to, imagine that going, if we had to say some number of seasons from now, we will see ourselves as stronger than Manchester City. Like, they're dangerous, they can hurt you, but that our bench might be the more impressive bench to go into this derby with. I mean, that's amazing on the upside. The worry, the one vulnerability is getting that left-hand side right. I think we agree who should start, but I'm sure when they draw up the tactics board, it's going to have a lot to do with our left-hand corner of the pitch and stretching us with Haaland runs and clever players on the right to get in that particular area.
They're not super well set up to attack it, ironically, because the player that I think I'd be scared about Calafiori facing would be a Doku, but Doku doesn't attack that side, right?
I was going to say Savinho, Elliot. I think they might play Savinho on that side.
He hasn't been playing at all.
He hasn't been playing, but if I'm them, if he's the one that made me think, because if I'm them, I'm thinking, I want that Calafiori staying at home. I don't want him floating around the pitch, flicking his Barney at me. I need him staying at home. I don't want him to get confident and striding through my midfield, because I ain't got the bodies to manage him. So I need to pin him back. They played Bernardo Silva in the last game in that position against United, where he would roll inside and overload Manchester United's two-man midfield. Job done, right? Game over. If they're at home, it's not a problem for them, right? So, but against us, I'm not sure they're going to play Bernardo on the right wing. If they do, Calafiori's just going to munch him, right? So you need a sharper player, a ball player, sprinter. So he's either Oscar Bob or it's Savinho. I would go Savinho only because he's had a good game against us in that 2-2 game. So I've got a memory of him, right? So I want our fullbacks back at home, and I want our midfield to have their midfield and it's man for man, right? And we go man for man, but I need to keep their fullbacks off me, right? So that's what I would do, right? But Calafiori doesn't care, right? He just goes. Then we go man for man. We go Saliba on Haaland one-on-one, or Gabriel on Haaland one-on-one, or if it's Timber. So he hasn't got a dope to pick on back there, right? So, because they want it with him. Do you see what I mean? And so I do like the Calafiori pick. He hasn't got to end the game, Paul. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't got to end it. Because I'll tell you now that Hincapi, I think he's gonna be the left backer, if you see what I mean. And I think Calafiori will spend a bit more time potentially at centre back, because we can't keep playing Gabriel every single game, so that would be an interesting one for him to help keep him fit. That's just my shout anyway.
Paul, quickly.
I think they're going to try and get Bernardo Silva in that area of the pitch, the Calafiori area of the pitch, even if he's not right wing, just for, you can just picture him trying to dribble into the penalty box in and around Calafiori, trying to make his legs look a little slow. That would, if you want to look where my fears are, they're going to try and make stuff happen in that area of the pitch with a fast winger potentially, and Bernardo Silva trying to cause havoc, twist us around, get in behind Calafiori, make his head swivel. You asked my dark thoughts. Those are my dark thoughts.
I think, look, this is really simple. They can't take the lead. Do not let them take the lead. If I noticed one thing in the United game, it was that they started to play off the ball, and then they just slaughtered United on the counter. I mean, Haaland's running in behind is relentless, and I think you want them feeling like they need to come on to you more and have the ball more, because when they lose possession, I don't think they have the ability to control games, and I think they lose possession a little more than they used to in midfield. Reiners is technically excellent, but physically, I'm not sure he's at the level. Who are they even going to play in midfield with him? Foden? Are they going to go Foden, Reiners, and
Did last time.
And if they go Foden, Reiners, and Rodri against us in midfield, that feels like asking for trouble. I mean, that's tissue paper soft. So I don't know if they will do that. I would expect them to bring Bernardo Silva into midfield, actually, which I think gives them a little more guile and control than Foden does. And maybe Foden drops out and they go with Bob, or they go with Savinho off one flank, and I don't know, Doku off the other. And it's not that Doku doesn't scare me, but Timber is the one guy I think, can live with the tricky winger. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, we know where the danger comes from with them, and we know where the battle has to be won. So I feel pretty confident in our ability to do it. I think there's going to be a lot of narrative going into this about, are we adventurous enough? But also, if Odegaard's not fit, are we going to pick Ethan over Marino in this game? I don't know. Will he go with Martinelli over Eze for his running at both ends? A lot of good choices he can make, and we will just have to see what happens. Let's leave it there. I'm going to throw to an interview I did with Boyce. It's 10 minutes long, about the KC Gooners. Kansas City is a football town and what to expect this weekend, because we'd love to see you there. But we will have a pod for you on Patreon tomorrow, and then instant reaction with a very drunk Clive, hopefully voice noting from the Emirates on Sunday, and maybe even Paul and I physically together from Kansas City doing the IR that day. We'll see what to make of that. So thank you very much, Paul.
Woohoo!
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
My name is Elliot Smith. Here is me and Boyce.